What's going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. This episode is going to be about Team of the Decade, and let's just roll that intro. Alright, so last night I dropped my Team of the Decade on my Instagram account at Swoop Luke. It was pretty crazy with the feedback. I got absolutely roasted.
Finish him. Fatality.
So just before we get started on who I picked and why I picked them, I thought I'm going to address some of the comments that I got on my Instagram account. So let's start them off, shall we? Alright, so the first one I got a lot of hate for was not including Didac in the forward line, and I loved Didac as a player, but you got to think that this is the Team of the Decade from 2010 to 2019. Didac played between 2001 and 2013, so yes, he did play from 2010 to 2013, but 2010 and 2011 were his good years. 12 and 13, he played a combined total of like 16 games or something, so I kind of left him out. I wasn't going to put someone in there if they had one or two good years this decade. If I was making a 2001 to 2009 or whatever it is, 2000 to 2009 Team of the Decade, he would definitely be in there. But I've got to account for the whole decade and not just fill it up with guys that were in the Premiership or in that 2011 team. The next one I got up to a little bit of flack for was Jared Blair. I put him on the interchange bench, so not in the forward line, but I do think that the 10 years that he did play from 2010 to 2018 were really good. You know, he did his role, and okay, 2018 wasn't that good or at all. 2017, a little bit here and there, but you know, from 2010 to 2016, which is like 6 or 7 seasons, he did really well. So that's why I included him. But I'll talk about that later. Another one I copped a couple comments for was not including Leon Davis. Leon Davis was in the that back line up until a couple of the edits. He finished in 2011. Yes, he had a good 2010. Yes, he had a good 2011. But again, I wasn't going to include someone just for 2 years. It's like, it's Team of the Decade. I didn't want to fill it up again with a lot of 2010, 2011 players. Also, I had a couple of people comment about Darcy Moore getting picked, sometimes over Maxwell, sometimes over Ben Reid. But with Moore, yes, he's a really good player, elite according to Champion Data. I just couldn't justify it with all his injuries. When he's good, he's good. But I'm just going on, how they've functioned in the last few years and stuff, and he hasn't been on the park enough for me to justify his place in the team. So that was addressing a little bit of those issues or feedback, and I appreciate it so much. I love having this back and forth, this banter with you guys. So let's just jump into my Team of the Decade. So my back six was Nick Maxwell, Nathan Brown at full back, Heath Shaw in the back pocket, followed by Jeremy Howe, Ben Reid, and Jack Crisp. As part of the first half of the decade, I think Nick Maxwell and Nathan Brown deserve their right to be in there. Nick Maxwell, obviously an ex-captain, but what he brought to the team was phenomenal. Nathan Brown really held his own in that full back spot. Along with Ben Reid, I put him at half back. Yes, the last couple of years he's played as a forward, but he really started down back at the start of the decade anyway, and played on the big guys, and I loved him in that back line, but now we've got more, so that's why I put Reid at half back. Heath Shaw, Jack Crisp, Jeremy Howe really speak for themselves. Jack Crisp, since he come from Brisbane, hasn't missed a game, and he has just been second to none off that half back line. Same with Jeremy Howe, best intercept marker in the game, best marker in the game, and what he brings to that half back line is just, it's kind of like just what Jack Crisp, but they just meld together, and if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be contesting for premierships. Same can be said for Heath Shaw. I never wanted him to leave, but that animosity between him and Buckley just had to be, they had to be separated, so he's been killing it at GWS as well, but at Collingwood, one of the best in the back line. So this midfield is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, so I'm going to include the rucks in here, and I'm going to include the centre line, of course. So as ruckman, obviously, Brodie Grundy, what more can be said about him? No ruckman at Collingwood has been this successful. Well, I guess if you don't count Jolly's premiership, but Jolly only played a couple of years with us, so that's why I put Grundy as our ruckman. I got Pendlebury and Dane Swan as Ruck Rover and Rover, of course. They were literally the first three names that I put on this list. And, oh man, Dane Swan could have kept going if it hadn't been for that goddamn injury. But Scott Pendlebury, I put him as captain, one of the best captains Collingwood has ever seen. Dane Swan's stats speak for themselves. Alongside Pendlebury, two of the best Collingwood players ever to pull on the black and white jersey. Off the wings and in the centre, I've got Steele Sidebottom, Adam Treloar, and Luke Ball on the wing. Luke Ball on the wing is a little bit of an odd choice. I didn't want to put him on the bench, couldn't fit him into that, that Rover spot. I had someone suggest that I should have put him into the centre and put Treloar on the wing. I actually didn't think about that. That could work as well, but it's a fictional team, so that's how I've gone with it. Steele Sidebottom has really come into his own in the last few years, but don't discount his first start out of the decade. Plays predominantly off the wing. 2018 we moved him into that more of that midfield role, and that's when he came, I think it was it third in the Brownlow or close to equal first at the Copeland Trophy. Adam Treloar, since coming from the Giants, has just been racking up disposals. Yes, his kicking isn't that great, but let's not talk about the negatives. Let's just talk about how he could be one of the next captains of Collingwood if he really puts his head to it. He's a natural born leader, and he just racks up, like I said, racks up the disposals, gets those centre clearances, and without him, it's so good that he chose to come to Collingwood instead of Richmond. Same with Luke Ball. After leaving St Kilda, came to Collingwood. One of my favourite Collingwood players. It was so good to see him get that premiership, albeit against St Kilda, but I would not have him out of this team. That what he brought to Collingwood, just that leadership, that cool head, and he was just magical whenever he got the ball. With my forward line, it was really hard to pick forwards that have been consistent, or we just haven't really had a decent working forward line, in my opinion. So I've got some guys that should be midfielders on that half forward line. So let's look at them now. Taylor Adams, Travis Cloke, Dane Beams. I had to find a place for Taylor Adams. Like Luke Ball, I couldn't just put him on the bench. Put Taylor on that half forward line. The pressure he brings, the mongrel that he brings, I absolutely love. And since coming from GWS, kind of like Adam Treloar, love that he picked us. And I think that he will be a future captain of the club. Travis Cloke is centre half forward. How could you just not pick him? I've had a couple of people comment, why Cloke, why Cloke? I love Cloke. I loved him. He kicked over 350 goals from 2010 to 2016 before going to the Bulldogs. Yes, he kicked more behinds, but that presence up forward, that big, muscly dude that's going to rip packs, we don't have that anymore, and that's exactly what we need. And he looks like he could still be playing. I would love for that. But that's why I've put him at my team of the decade centre half forward. Dane Beams on the other half forward flank. You could easily interchange those between Steele Sidebottom and Dane Beams, because Steele makes a good half forward as well. Dane Beams loves a goal. Love that he came back from Brisbane, but even at Brisbane, captained them. He had a really good decade at Collingwood and at Brisbane. Now he's back. 2019 was hindered, but watch 2020, he'll come out fiery and go down as one of the Collingwood greats. So for my forward pockets of full forwards, I had Travis Farko, Jordan De Goey, and Jamie Elliott. So you're probably thinking, Travis Farko, well, what has he really done? But he came from Geelong, obviously, won a couple of premierships with them this decade. But since he's been with us, I think he's been one of our most consistent forwards. Doesn't kick a lot of goals. He loves a goal, doesn't kick a lot of them. But the pressure that he brings to that forward line is literally, and I know I say this a lot, but this is literally second to none. He is a phenomenal forward. Shame that he didn't get to play in that prelim. Something that we need, brings that experience, that old head, and I can't wait to see what he does in 2020. Jordan De Goey only lit up, he's been playing for a couple of years, well, he's playing for a few years, but only lit up the AFL last year and this year. But so you're thinking, why would you put him in if he's only had two or so good years? But find me a better forward in that time than Jordan De Goey. You can't. You probably can, just to prove me wrong. But in my opinion, you can't. That's why he stays at full forward. Jamie Elliott, before all these injuries, he was on fire. 2019, he found his form again. That's why he finds himself in the forward pocket. So on the interchange, I had Jared Blair, Dale Thomas, Tyson Goldsack, Alan Tuvey. Jared Blair is where I got so roasted for in my comments on my Instagram feed. 120 goals in the 7 seasons that he played. And like I mentioned previously, he played well in that forward pocket. As a crumbing forward, we don't have genuine crumbing forwards anymore. Jamie Elliott and Steve-O aren't crumbing forwards, they're high marking forwards. Jared Blair, yeah, had a shit 2018, obviously. 2017 he was petering out. But like I said, those years between 2010 and 2016, he was phenomenal. That's why I put him on there. Dale Thomas, of course, love him. I love him as a player. I love him as a dude. Did so well at Collingwood at the start of the decade. Yes, he went to Carlton. Still had a couple of good years at Carlton. So that's why he's on my list. Tyson Goldsack, I think this was a bit of a love the guy pick. I had Harry O'Brien or Heritia Lumumba in this position until the final edit, like 5 minutes before the final edit. I swapped them out. I think it was a love pick. But you could interchange Goldsack with Harry O'Brien. But yeah, Goldsack, I love what he did, to come back last year. And he's the heart and soul of the club, or was the heart and soul of the club as well. So I think that's why I put him in there. And how can you forget Alan Tuvey? It was Alan Tuvey or Maynard. Maynard really shown in the last 2 years, but I think Tuvey was more consistent throughout. One of our better defenders for most of the decade. Taking that medium sized forward, and that's why I've got him in the team. So anyway, that is my team of the decade. I didn't want to bore you and give you stats and stuff. Just wanted to give you my thoughts on the players, why I picked them, why I didn't pick them. So leave in the comments below what your thoughts are, who you think should be out of this team, who you think should be into this team. Follow my Instagram account at Swoop Luke. I might put up a blank template tomorrow for you guys to screenshot and write in and then send them through. It would be really great to see. Until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later. You okay? Okay. Alright. Can I record, please? Come on. Go. Go away. Come on. Come on. Alright, come on. Go. But, that animosity, yeah. With my forward line, it was really. Interchange.